Welcome, dear viewers, to a terrifying story that will make you tremble. We explore the dark, secretive world of cults in the video we have for you today. Prepare yourself as we reveal the startling reality about one man's path, including deceit, persuasion, and his desperate attempt to flee a dangerous group. As we uncover the cult's sinister secrets, inside the twisted world I uncovered, be ready to be enthralled, horrified, and informed.
When I was in my early youth and newly married, I unexpectedly lost my job due to a company reorganization. This unfortunate turn of events coincided with a period of financial strain as I had accumulated several debts. Eager to secure alternative employment, I diligently scoured local newspapers, online platforms, and employment agencies, yet my efforts yielded little success. The opportunities once stumbled upon neither covered my expenses nor fulfilled me personally. As time went on, my meager savings dwindled, prompting me to contemplate my circumstances. In that moment of reflection, I made the decision to accept whatever employment was available, recognizing the pressing need to address my mounting debts. During my search on the internet, I chanced upon an advertisement that piqued my interest. It stood apart from the others, promising substantial earnings based on sales targets with the added perk of flexible working hours. The prospect excited me greatly, as it offered the opportunity to explore other pursuits and generate additional income. Without much deliberation, I dialed the number displayed in the advertisement, and a friendly young woman answered the call, exuding kindness. She provided me with some initial details about the offered opportunity and extended an invitation to a meeting where the nature of the work would be explained. Intrigued by her description, I eagerly requested to be registered for attendance. On the designated day, I arrived at the address they had provided, where I was warmly greeted by a well-dressed young man. Upon entering the room, I observed a gathering of individuals, much like myself, who shared an interest in this employment prospect. The young man extended his welcome to all of us and commenced a discourse that gradually transformed into a motivational speech. He presented purported success stories and skillfully convinced us that working for their company would bring about transformative changes in our lives. Supporting the assertions made by the young man, two individuals, a man and a woman, who identified themselves as employees of the company, stepped forward. They proceeded to share their personal narratives detailing their initial experiences with the company and how it ultimately resulted in favorable remuneration. The woman recounted her journey, highlighting the invaluable assistance provided by the company in terms of logistical support and well-executed marketing campaigns. She emphasized how these factors enabled her to successfully achieve sales targets while working only a few hours each day, affording her the precious opportunity to care for her children within the comfort of her home. The focus of the job revolved around selling books centered on personal development and self-help, albeit from a religious perspective. Initially, I found this concept rather peculiar, questioning the potential demand for such books. However, the instructors reassured us that they had meticulously identified a market comprising prospective clients who displayed a high likelihood of closing sales. These individuals had already expressed interest in the products through surveys conducted by the company. Our role would involve approaching these potential clients armed with the accurate information needed to secure the sale. The instructors presented compelling evidence, showcasing the data gathered from their marketing campaigns, which further bolstered their claims. It all appeared logical to me, instilling a conviction that the job was not overly complex and still held significant potential for substantial gains. Despite harboring skepticism, the yearning for change and improved financial prospects was too strong to dismiss, especially considering the potential flexibility this job offered for pursuing other endeavors. The young man distributed a document outlining the company's requirements and the necessary information we had to provide. Notably, it included a fee of $100, which gave me pause as it deviated from the norm of employers not requiring payment from employees. However, they clarified that this sum was intended to cover the costs of training and essential materials, framing it as an investment rather than a mere expense that would be swiftly recouped. Although I have reservations, the notion of a swift recovery helped assuage my doubts. I engaged in a discussion with my wife regarding the opportunity, and she cautioned me about the potential for fraud. Seeking guidance from others, the majority offered warnings against proceeding. However, amidst the contrasting advice, a friend encouraged me to embrace the risk. Faced with a blend of emotions, I ultimately made the decision to go ahead with it as well. The following day, I handed over the money along with my documents. They organized us into groups and transported us to a location known as Westbrook. Upon arrival, we received parcels containing religious books and were assigned specific addresses to visit. True to their word, the people at these addresses were anticipating our arrival. We introduced ourselves, entered their homes, and showcased the literature and books we carried. Astonishingly, many of the individuals we visited exhibited a receptive attitude and willingly made purchases. However, during one of these interactions, I noticed one of my colleagues discreetly capturing photographs of the surroundings without our host's knowledge. This behavior struck me as impertinent and out of place. As we departed the premises, I inquired about my colleague's actions, asking why he had taken those photos. His response failed to satisfy my concerns, as he dismissed it as innocuous, claiming his interest had been piqued by certain paintings adorning the walls. Though dissatisfied with his explanation, I chose to let the matter rest. During our moments of respite, I sought the wisdom of a seasoned colleague who had tread this path far longer than I had. In hushed tones, with a veil of secrecy enveloping our conversation, he unraveled a bone-chilling truth that gripped my very soul. The seemingly innocuous organization we found ourselves entangled in was, in reality, an insidious cult that wove its web of manipulation through the art of seduction, fear, and intimidation. I soon discovered that the ostensible book sales were nothing more than a facade, a sinister vehicle employed to ensnare unsuspecting souls into memberships that funded the organization's wicked pursuits. With earnest urgency, my colleague stressed the paramount importance of unyielding obedience. His words echoed with a foreboding tone as he warned of the dire consequences that awaited those foolish enough to question or defy the orders issued by our shadowy overlords. The weight of his cautionary tale settled upon me, a shiver coursing through my very being. In that moment, I stood at the precipice of a haunting choice: to willingly succumb to the malevolent grasp of this cult, or to summon the courage to challenge the darkness that enveloped us, knowing full well the unimaginable horrors that lurked within. The words uttered by my colleague left me dumbfounded, for I had been oblivious to the true nature of the entity we served. Nonetheless, as I began reaping the fruits of my labor, a sense of complacency overshadowed any concerns his tale had stirred within me. Progressing steadily, I climbed the ranks, dutifully meeting the company's goals while suppressing any inkling of doubt or dissent. Along this perilous journey, I bore witness to the disquieting spectacle that unfolded when a few courageous souls dared to question the directives of the organization. In those unnerving instances, an eerie transformation would ensue. A disciplinary council would be convened, shrouded in an aura of secrecy and intimidation. Penalties, ranging from mere verbal admonishments to disturbingly physical retributions, were administered to the dissenters. These haunting episodes cast a somber shadow over my conscience, prompting profound introspection regarding my continued involvement in this enigmatic employment. Yet, driven by dire circumstances and lacking viable alternatives, I trudged on, resolved to endure until a more promising opportunity presented itself. To my friends and family, I projected an image of unwavering dedication to my work, concealing the gnawing truth that lay beneath the surface. Privately, I grappled with the realization that it was all an elaborate charade, an intricately woven tapestry of deceit. Fear gripped my heart as I contemplated the dire repercussions that would inevitably befall me should I dare to sever ties with the organization, heedful of the ominous warnings they had imparted. With time, a troubling revelation began to take hold. Those we visited, ostensibly to sell books, were individuals associated with specific religious organizations. It became clear that these individuals were particularly susceptible to manipulation, falling prey to the web of deceit woven by the organization I served. Through us, false information was disseminated, luring them into subscribing to monthly personal development programs. The consequences of quitting these programs were dire, for the information we stealthily gathered during our home visits became a weapon of extortion, ensuring their continued financial commitment. Unbeknownst to me, I unwittingly became entangled in this web of deception. In pursuit of financial gain, I had unwittingly strayed beyond the bounds of legality. The organization capitalized on the desperation and vulnerability of countless individuals, offering them spiritual solutions as their sole means of escape. It was a tragic realization that I had become complicit in exploiting the hopes and anguish of others, all for the sake of sustaining my own income. In my role as an instructor, I found myself enmeshed in the sinister fabric of the organization's recruitment machinery. Through deceptive interviews, we ruthlessly manipulated job applicants, preying upon their desperate need for financial stability. What began as a quest for livelihood soon devolved into the haunting realm of modern-day servitude. Within the confines of clandestine gatherings and solemn ceremonies, the organization's true nature emerged, shrouded in darkness and cruelty. Those who dared to defy its authority were subjected to public punishments that harkened back to the medieval ages, each torment echoing the horrors of bygone eras. These spectacles of suffering served as cautionary tales, instilling fear and subjugating all who bore witness. In this harrowing landscape, the boundaries of morality blurred as our own participation in these malevolent practices gradually eroded our sense of humanity. We became complicit in perpetuating a cycle of exploitation, ensnaring individuals in the grip of merciless manipulation and subjecting them to unspeakable torments. As time slipped away, the truth gradually unveiled itself, unfurling a web of deceit in which I had become ensnared. It was a painful revelation to recognize the extent of my own complicity in deceiving others. Like me, these individuals sought employment out of sheer necessity, their desperate circumstances leaving them vulnerable to accepting any conditions imposed upon them. In this dark reality, their plight transformed them into virtual slaves, bound by the shackles of exploitation. The weight of guilt pressed upon my conscience as I confronted the dire consequences of my actions, an unwelcome awakening to the depths of the deception that had consumed us all. Having dedicated considerable time to the organization, the managers deemed me worthy of their recognition, extending an invitation to an exclusive gathering reserved for the organization's elite leaders and a select few accomplished guests. Gratitude welled within me, accompanied by an unmistakable sense of intrigue surrounding the enigmatic nature of this forthcoming encounter. Anticipation coursed through my veins as I prepared to partake in this mystifying rendezvous, curious to uncover the secrets concealed within its clandestine embrace. Expecting a typical jovial gathering, filled with merriment and revelry, I naively entered the party with such notions in mind. However, what I encountered was a stark departure from my hopeful imaginings. Instead of an atmosphere brimming with laughter and enjoyment, an oppressive heaviness enveloped the room, thick with palpable fear. To my shock, individuals emerged, drawing attention as they were called out for their perceived failures in fulfilling the entrusted tasks. A disconcerting hush fell upon the assembled crowd as the organization's leaders seized control of the situation. In a chilling display of dominance, these unfortunate souls became the targets of physical punishment, their suffering exposed to all, a haunting spectacle of power and intimidation that left me paralyzed with disbelief. The most jarring aspect was the glaring incongruity between the professed ideals of the leaders and their actual actions. Despite espousing messages of love and compassion, the organization's leaders contradicted these principles entirely. Beneath the veneer of benevolence lay a stark reality. They callously exploited the unwavering loyalty of their followers, employing fear as a potent tool for manipulation. The stark contrast between their proclaimed values and their callous exercise of power left no doubt that they wielded their authority without remorse or empathy. As the meeting unfolded, a profound sense of disillusionment washed over me. The veil of righteousness that once cloaked the organization had been mercilessly torn asunder, unveiling a chilling reality. It became abundantly clear that what I had naively believed to be a beacon of enlightenment had devolved into nothing more than a malevolent cult, diverging drastically from its original path. Instead of fostering growth and understanding, it had morphed into a vessel of control and insidious abuse. The revelation struck me with an overwhelming disappointment as the stark truth pierced through the remnants of my shattered faith. Among the gathering, a portion of the attendees appeared unsettlingly acclimated to these disconcerting practices, accepting them as the twisted norm. Yet there were those who exhibited a quiet unease, their eyes revealing an internal struggle between their unwavering loyalty and their moral compass. Alas, the prospect of challenging the leaders remained an untenable choice. It was a collective understanding that voicing any opposition would invite dire repercussions, not solely upon themselves but also upon their cherished kin. The weight of this realization stifled dissent, leaving many trapped in a harrowing predicament of submission and fear. The people had succumbed to such a degree of submission that their once free spirits had been shackled, reducing them to mere slaves. During the course of the meeting, as the punishments drew to a close, a startling turn of events unfolded. To my astonishment, influential figures from the realms of politics and show business made their entrance through an opulent passageway, promptly assuming privileged positions within the room. They commanded our attention, coercing us to serve them lavish delicacies and libations meticulously arranged for the occasion. As the meeting progressed, a disconcerting transformation befell these individuals, spurred by the effects of alcohol and excess. The atmosphere devolved into a haze of unrestrained indulgence as lust and debauchery cast their seductive shadows upon the gathering. The sight that struck me with the greatest humiliation was the fervent reverence and adulation bestowed upon the leader of the section. It defied logical explanation, for it transcended mere respect and resembled an unsettling form of worship. Witnessing this spectacle, where the individual proclaimed themselves as the embodiment of mercy, shook me to the core. The gravity of the situation weighed heavily on me as I realized that my pursuit of additional income had ensnared me within the clutches of a religious section. Escaping their grasp proved to be an arduous task, for they held intimate knowledge of my vulnerabilities and had woven a web of control that seemed inescapable. The suffocating realization of my predicament was a relentless burden on my conscience. Amidst the eerie ambience of the gathering, I noticed a fellow companion, a kind-hearted woman, growing increasingly uneasy with the grotesque spectacle unfolding before us. Driven by her discomfort, she attempted to make her escape from the ghastly affair. Yet a sinister guard lurking in the shadows discerned her intentions and swiftly intercepted her, forcibly returning her to the heart of the room. Sensing a shift in the atmosphere, one of the leaders, who had been keenly observing the unfolding events, summoned her presence. The enigmatic exchange between them beckoned her towards a nearby chamber, concealed from prying eyes. My curiosity burned within, craving a glimpse of the enigma that unfolded, but I dared not approach the vicinity. The potential consequences of such audacity were far too dire, thus compelling me to remain anchored in my current position, tethered to the harrowing scene. The main chamber pulsated with blaring music, drowning out any lingering thoughts of the earlier unsettling occurrences. Merriment filled the air as platters of delectable treats and flowing libations were joyously distributed amongst the revelers. Laughter and dance erupted, eclipsing the memories of our initial disquietude. As I yearned for the festivities to draw to a close, plotting my escape, a guard caught sight of me, sitting quietly at one of the tables. He implored my assistance in transporting certain items to another chamber, sensing my disinterest in the main room's revelries. Eager to oblige, I joined him, shouldering the weight of crimson-shrouded parcels that concealed an unfathomable heaviness within. Struggling with each step, we maneuvered the enigmatic cargo to the designated room. There, I carefully unveiled the contents, revealing an array of swords, tarnished candlesticks, ominous ebony figurines, and an assortment of perplexing implements whose purpose eluded me. The guards expressed gratitude for my compliance, and with a surge of anticipation, I hastily departed the premises. By then, the clock had struck past midnight, and my eagerness to escape that macabre sanctuary could no longer be contained. The early morning hours weighed heavily on me, with fatigue seeping into my bones. Amidst the drunken revelry that engulfed the room, both attendees and guards alike succumbed to an intoxicating haze. A sense of opportunity arose, whispering that this was the moment to make my escape. Determinedly, I rose from my seat and stealthily made my way towards the restrooms, for adjacent to them lay a door leading to the gardens. It was my hope that, amidst the darkness of the outdoors, my departure would go unnoticed. As I emerged into the eerie stillness of the garden, a flickering glow caught my attention, a tent illuminated by ethereal candlelight, guarded by shadowy figures. My heart skipped a beat, for the path to the main door lay perilously close to this enigmatic enclosure. Dread clung to my every step, fear gnawing at the edges of my resolve, yet the longing to escape surged within me, overpowering all rational thought. Abandoning caution, I threw myself upon the dew-drenched grass, slithering with utmost care to evade detection, praying that the guardians would remain oblivious to my presence. As I drew near to the tent, consumed by an insatiable curiosity, my steps grew stealthier, and my senses heightened in anticipation. What unfolded before my disbelieving eyes defied all reason, shattering the fragile veil of reality I clung to. There, upon a scarlet-draped table, lay my partner, stripped bare and motionless, while the enigmatic figure known as the Merciful, the sect's paramount leader, wielded the swords with an otherworldly grace, enunciating unfathomable incantations that danced upon the air. A chorus of devout acolytes kneeled in reverent adulation, their eyes alight with an unholy fervor. Beside the leader stood bewitching sirens, their unclothed forms illuminated by crimson-hued candles. My heart seized within my chest as I witnessed the girl, a vessel of unfortunate circumstance, impaled by those accursed blades while the candles cruelly kissed her flesh. It was a macabre ritual steeped in darkness, its malevolent intent shrouded in mystery. Terror gripped me, driving me from that unhallowed place before I became ensnared in their sinister machinations. Hastening through the main gate, I traversed the desolate road, a lone wanderer seeking refuge, until I chanced upon a taxi that would whisk me far from that accursed domain. This chilling encounter plunged me into a labyrinth of unimaginable horror, an ordeal that defied all reason. The veil of deception that had ensnared me within the folds of this seemingly altruistic sect began to fray, revealing a malevolent cord dripping with malefic intent. Doubt, like tendrils of darkness, coiled around my mind as I questioned my ill-fated decision to join their ranks. The facade of benevolence crumbled, revealing the sinister truth beneath, a calculated ploy to ensnare the desperate and the vulnerable. These insidious groups, masquerading as charitable organizations, employed religion as their wicked tool, ensnaring unsuspecting souls and subjecting them to a mind-numbing obedience that drained them of independent thought and enslaved their very spirits. It became unmistakably clear that these nefarious sects were but mere pawns in a diabolical game puppeteered by the devil himself. Their insatiable thirst for wealth and power intoxicated them as they reveled in the suffering of those who sought solace and respite from their financial and personal woes. I could no longer deny the gravity of my situation. I had to extricate myself from their clutches for my own sanity and salvation. The path ahead loomed dark and treacherous, fraught with unknown terrors, but I resolved to summon every ounce of courage and strength within me. The chilling embrace of the sect's clutches must be cast off, for I will not surrender my soul to their vile machinations. In the ensuing week, I embarked on a series of visits to prospective clients' residences, dutifully tending to the tasks assigned to my subordinates. My intention was to immerse myself in that realm for the day, allowing me to contemplate an escape from the clutches of the sect without invoking dire repercussions. Ideas swirled in my mind, fleeting and elusive, as I grappled with the weight of my decision. While the specter of potential financial hardship loomed ominously, my paramount concern rested on the safety and well-being of my beloved wife and myself. Upon arriving home, an unsettling revelation awaited me. Members of the cult had paid an unexpected visit to my humble abode, interrogating my wife about my whereabouts. Perplexed, she implored me for answers, for no one from my purported company had ever ventured to inquire about my location before. My wife, unaware of the truth, divulged that I was engaged in visiting clients, albeit unaware of my precise whereabouts. The cult members, sinister in their intentions, instructed her to withhold this encounter from me, invoking a misguided attempt to shield me from unnecessary distress. The weight of the situation bore heavily upon her, and she beseeched me to reveal the nature of my involvement in this enigmatic business. With trepidation in my heart, I found myself at a loss for words. How could I elucidate the dark truth when she, like the rest of the world, believed me to be a prosperous salesman thriving in the realm of business? The burden grew too immense, an insufferable weight on my soul. The time for endurance had reached its limit. Departing the cult's grip would be no facile feat, for I had been forewarned of the dire consequences by both my fellow comrades and the haunting spectacles I bore witness to in the preceding weekend. Aware of the sect's keen observance and their knowledge of my departure from the fateful gathering, I understood that a return was out of the question. To do so would only invite punishment, or worse, a sinister plot to silence me through a staged accident. With resolute determination, I made a swift decision to divulge the entire truth to my wife, sparing no detail. I confessed my deep entanglement in the sect, the deceptions I perpetrated to amass ill-gotten gains, and the dark revelation of the party's satanic nature. As I poured out my secrets, a mixture of astonishment and disbelief washed over her countenance. The weight of my betrayal weighed heavily upon my conscience, for I had long deceived her into believing that I was a thriving individual, concealing the truth that I was not but a mere pawn, enslaved in the service of malevolent criminals. As the weight of my confession settled upon us, the encroaching darkness seemed to amplify the urgency of our situation. A foreboding unease crept over me, knowing that the sect's members would soon descend upon our doorstep once more, relentless in their pursuit. In haste, I implored my wife to gather only the essentials, for we had to abandon our home without delay. She clutched her most prized possessions, and with hearts racing, we slipped into the car, our destination uncertain. As we rounded the block, I stole a fearful glance in the rearview mirror, catching sight of shadowy figures approaching the entrance of our residence. It was them, the agents of our torment, closing in on their prey. A surge of adrenaline propelled me to press harder on the accelerator, desperate to outpace their realization that our flight had begun. The terror etched on my wife's face mirrored the turmoil within my own soul. Guilt and remorse twisted my insides, for I had become a wretched creature, a sellout who had bartered his integrity for the cursed allure of wealth. And now, I was fleeing like a craven coward from the very depths of darkness I had unleashed upon our lives. As we distanced ourselves from the familiar surroundings, a modicum of relief trickled into my veins. Yet the relentless grip of apprehension remained, coiling tightly around my thoughts. The future loomed before us, a murky abyss filled with the unknown. All the ill-gotten gains I had amassed through deceit now threatened to unravel at a moment's notice. Returning to our former residence was an unthinkable risk, for the sect's tendrils extended far and wide, their influence pervading the entire state. No place seemed safe to hide, no sanctuary seemed secure enough to shield us from their clutches. The shadows of paranoia lengthened, transforming every passerby into a potential agent of the cult, their eyes betraying the sinister secrets they held. The weight of our fugitive status bore down upon us, each step taken with trepidation, haunted by the constant fear of recognition and abduction and the dread of being dragged back into the clutches of the section. In this heightened state of vigilance, even the most innocuous faces became distorted specters of danger, intensifying the palpable tension that hung in the air. My wife and I sought refuge in a desolate motel adjacent to the desolate highway, a place seemingly trapped in perpetual gloom. Our days melded together within the confines of that dimly lit room, our existence confined to scarce ventures outside for essential sustenance. In a moment of eerie coincidence, as the television flickered with a news program, a chilling report unfolded before our eyes. The screen became a gateway to horror, unveiling the macabre revelation that sent shivers coursing down my spine. The broadcast detailed the unearthing of a woman's lifeless body, buried deep within a garden. My heart pounded relentlessly as I recognized the very garden that had played host to the unholy gathering. There could be no doubt or hesitation, the life snuffed out so brutally belonged to the unfortunate soul who had lain exposed upon the sacrificial altar. The weight of this realization threatened to crush me beneath its suffocating grip. The reporter's voice, laced with sinister undertones, wove a tale of witnesses who claimed to have glimpsed the shadowy figure of the murderer fleeing into the inky night, vanishing into the very road I had traversed. To my horror, among the witnesses was none other than the cab driver who had ferried me away from that scene of twisted rituals and dark malevolence. The realization struck like a poisoned arrow, injecting fresh terror into my veins. I gazed at the screen, transfixed by the nightmare that unfolded before me. It became abundantly clear that the cult, with their tendrils of manipulation, had orchestrated this macabre charade to cast me as the scapegoat, the unwitting pawn in their vile game. My wife, her wide eyes mirroring my own, quivered beside me. The truth had been distorted, my innocence had been twisted into a damning web of accusations. Now, not only did the relentless pursuit of the sect torment my every thought, but the authorities would soon join the sinister chase, their search for justice morphing into a hunt for my capture. Time, like an executioner's blade, loomed over me, counting down the moments until my inevitable demise. I could feel the weight of the world on my shoulders as we embarked on our treacherous journey to expose the cult's evil deeds. I contacted a renowned investigative journalist named Sarah. Sarah became our lifeline, offering us her resources and unwavering determination to uncover the truth. Together, we would navigate the perilous path ahead. Each day, we descended into darkness. Sarah's connections gave us leads, secret papers, and intimate knowledge about the cult's evil. We discovered terrible truths. Their corruption reached the highest echelons, well beyond our expectations. As we sought the truth, the cult's enforcers intensified. We were continuously watched. Paranoia made every stranger a danger. We trusted no one because treachery might kill us. We painstakingly gathered the cult's misdeeds in testimonials, financial documents, and images with Sarah. Our struggle wasn't over. We needed a forum to expose the cult's lies to society. We presented our findings to a secret journalist network. Our discoveries shocked and inspired them. They promised to spread our narrative to show the cult for what it was, a wicked, manipulative force preying on the innocent. The story shook the cult. As the facts piled up, popular incredulity turned into indignation. A long overdue reckoning between truth and lies would decide many lives. The cult pushed back, spreading suspicion among the people. They escalated overt and hidden threats to silence us forever. We were continually on the run and had to change our identities. We revealed the last piece of evidence, an indisputable revelation, late at night. As their illusions crumbled, the world marveled. Our tale inspired others to fight society's underbelly. Our influence was unmistakable. We exposed the cult's deception. As I reflect on my harrowing escape from the clutches of the sinister cult, I can't help but ponder the dark truth that lurks behind the veiled facade of many such sections. It became evident to me that these organizations prey on the vulnerable, exploiting their deepest needs and desires, all while cloaking their true intentions in a shroud of false righteousness. They entice individuals seeking solace, promising salvation and prosperity, but their true agenda is far from holy. They manipulate and deceive, ensnaring unsuspecting souls in their wicked web. Behind the charming smiles and seemingly benevolent gestures lie the twisted desires of power, control, and personal gain. The consequences for those ensnared by these cults are nothing short of devastating. Innocence is shattered, trust is betrayed, and lives are irreparably damaged. The desperate search for hope and purpose is cynically exploited, leaving behind a trail of shattered dreams and broken spirits. It is a chilling reminder that evil often wears a captivating mask, preying upon the yearning hearts of those seeking refuge from life's hardships. We must remain vigilant, discerning the true motives behind seemingly virtuous organizations. It is imperative that we educate ourselves and our loved ones, shedding light on the insidious tactics employed by these malevolent forces. My own escape serves as a testament to the courage and resilience required to break free from their clutches. It is my fervent hope that by sharing my story, others may recognize the signs of manipulation, resist the allure of false promises, and avoid falling victim to the horrors that lie beneath the surface. May my journey serve as a stark warning, reminding us all to question, to investigate, and to never let our desperate search for salvation blind us to the unholy goals that some sects seek to achieve.
As this spine-chilling voyage comes to a close, we are left with the frightening reality that certain groups take advantage of the weak, preying upon their wants and desires with disastrous results. We must continue to be watchful, scrutinizing the motives of those who offer salvation while concealing nefarious motives. Share this video to raise awareness so that more people will be able to see deception and stay out of these evil organizations' reach. To ensure that you never miss an upload, don't forget to click the subscribe button and the notification bell. Keep an eye out, viewers, since the nefarious truths hidden under the surface may quickly pierce the veneer of innocence.